Here we're checking that the list of cost allocations is empty on this repository. I also need to check my warehouses. Here I just have my main warehouse. And if I want to look at my part movement, I can see here in my parts that I currently have no parts on MX. Now what I want to do is I want to synchronize my data. So I go into my data import export, I'm going into create, and then I'm going to import the configuration that I already have on my computer. Here we can see that the bodies have filled themselves out, so I'm going to correct that, and I'm going to add my API key. And then up here I'm going to save this information. And so just checking below, I can make sure that all my actions have filled themselves correctly, and I'm going to run this first synchronization manually. So going on to Sage 300 in my location details for my parts, here I'm going to choose a part that we are going to look at. And so I've chosen the fluorescent desk lamp here in the central warehouse of Seattle, and I have 137 pieces on hand. So going back into MX, I need to check that my list of cost allocations was filled out correctly, and we can see here that it has been. And so I'm also going to verify in my warehouses that I have all my warehouses. And here we can see the central warehouse of Seattle. And so now what I can do is I can create a part movement. I'm going to do a part removal. And so for the part, I'm going to choose the fluorescent desk lamp that we saw earlier in Sage 300. And then going on to the warehouse, we're taking the central warehouse of Seattle, and I'm going to remove 2 parts. So MX is using 2 parts. What I can also do is my cost allocations, and I'm going to associate this movement to repairs and maintenance. I'll save this information here and then go back to my synchronization with Sage 300. See here, I'm going to manually run this synchronization. In production, it will be done automatically. Back here in Sage 300, I need to make sure that the information was synchronized correctly, so I'm going to check that in my transactions and my adjustments for my stock. Here I see that there was an adjustment, and it is the fluorescent lamp of a quantity of 2. I also want to check by location if it was correctly removed, so I'm going back to my location details. I'm going to find my piece. And we can see here that in the central warehouse of Seattle, we are at 135 pieces on hand, which means that the information was correctly synchronized between MX and Sage 300. I can also check this information straight from MX. If I want, I can go into my list of parts sorted by warehouse. And here we can see the fluorescent desk lamp. And for the central warehouse of Seattle, we can see that there are 135 parts.